Fox 6 News interrupts regular programming for this special live news event.
Good morning, everyone. Ben Handelman here from the Fox 6 newsroom. We're cutting in with breaking news this morning with reports of a shooting near the Brookfield Mall. This is coming at possibly near a salon near the street. Just word into newsroom, the mall is currently on lockdown. No one is allowed inside or outside that mall, but we believe the shooting is happening at a spa down the street on Northmoreland Road, the Azana Day Spa. There have been reports of multiple shootings. None of this has been confirmed right now into the Fox 6 newsroom. What we can tell you, there are multiple law enforcement agencies on scene, and that mall has been put on lockdown currently, but we don't know if there is an active shooter or if anyone is in custody. We have multiple crews heading to the scene. We will keep you informed throughout the football game this afternoon. This is just live pictures now you're taking a look of the scene on Moreland Road, just north of Interstate 94. The Brookfield Square Mall tells us they are on lockdown. They are not letting anyone inside or out of the mall. However, the shooting is believed to be across the street at the Azana Day Spa. We have learned that there is a bomb sweep of the building that has been asked for, and we have also learned that area hospitals have been put on alert. But we have multiple crews heading down to the scene. These, of course, are live pictures here near Moreland Road, but we'll keep you updated as more information comes into the newsroom. Our AJ Bayapur is on scene, and he joins us live. AJ.
Good afternoon, Ben. We are live here in the parking lot of the Brookfield Square Mall. If you look here behind me, we have multiple witnesses confirming to us that they have seen several women, some wounded, some unhurt, leaving the Azana Salon and Spa. Now, police have set up their staging area across the street on the eastern side of the Brookfield Square Mall parking lot, right near the U.S. Bank. I've talked to 4 witnesses. I've been unable to confirm anything official with law enforcement, but those 4 witnesses tell us that they've seen anything from one young lady running across the parking lot screaming that her mother had been shot. She was running barefoot. Another 3 women I talked to say they saw 3 women, one crawling out of the mall, appearing to be fairly badly hurt, another walking, holding her arm, and another carried by police. The latest information we have from Frederick Hospital is that 4 people have already been taken there, none in critical condition. They are expecting another 3 in the hospital.
Good afternoon. Ted Perry, Mary Stoker-Smith here with our breaking news today. We have been telling you all morning long there have been shots fired, people wounded at a salon in Brookfield called Azana Salon. Calls started coming in about 11 o'clock this morning that there was a shooting and the shooter had wounded some people. They're on their way to Frederick Hospital, and the shooter at this point we know is on the loose.
Not been able to find this male shooter yet. That's all we know about him right now.
Now, I want to take you through an eyewitness account of what happened. I'm joined here by Jenny Remshek. Now, Jenny, you were here in the lot, and you've seen a lot of what's happened in the aftermath. Just take us through what you've seen.
Well, we were driving past McDonald's and we saw all the police officers bring up their rifles and start going behind signs and everything, and we pulled in next to U.S. Bank and we saw some woman crawl out of the front door and roll down the hill, and the cops had scooped her up and taken her right over to the ambulance, and they had taken off with her. And then we heard a loud shriek and we seen them picking up another woman and taking her right over to the ambulance. And after that, we seen about 10 people leave the building with their arms up, running out screaming. And they took them all over to McDonald's, and we saw some woman running out of McDonald's holding her arms, screaming that she needed help, and a police officer was saying that they needed medical assistance. And then it's just been at a standstill now. We haven't seen anything else happen.
That first woman crawling, was that the first thing that got your attention? Is that the first thing you noticed?
Yes, because everybody thought it was at McDonald's, and all of a sudden we saw some woman rolling down the hill at Azana, and then all of a sudden everybody just realized it was over there that something was going on.
Let's take you out to Frederick Hospital. Our Kim Murphy standing by live with a report on the injured that were taken there. Kim, what can you tell us from your vantage point?
Good afternoon, Mary and Ted. Yes, we've been out here for the last hour or so checking in with the spokespersons at Frederick every 10 minutes. And what they can tell us is what we have told you so far, is that 4 people have been conveyed to the hospital here. Their injuries are non-critical, but they are being evaluated, and they are still waiting for those 3 others to be conveyed here. So 7 total is what they've been told to expect.
Taking advantage of our commercial time to bring you the latest on the breaking news from Brookfield. Jenna Sachs is live in Brookfield. Let's get to her with the latest. She's across the street from the mall.
That's right. We're actually outside the Boston store near Blue Mound and Moreland, and I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a look at the scene as it's unfolding. The mall, we are told, is still on lockdown, and you can see the orange cones that are marking off the area where law enforcement have taken over the parking lot here. I went to the doors of the Boston store just a little bit ago, and I was told, yes, the mall is still locked down and no one is being allowed in. However, people are being let out through certain exits at the mall. They tell me the mall inside is actually pretty vacant at this point. Stores are closed down. They have their gates pulled down, and the parking lots outside Moreland along the mall are actually being taken over by law enforcement. As you see, you can see a very active scene here.
Approximately 11:09 this morning, we received a call of a shooting in progress at Azana Salon, 200 North Moreland Road here in the city of Brookfield. We were told a male suspect was involved. That male suspect has been identified. You all have pictures currently of Mr. Radcliffe Franklin Houghton, Haughton. The time of the shooting, the suspect was wearing a gray sweater, blue jeans, and had a white and black backpack with him. We have a total of 7 victims. 4 were transported. We believe we have 3 deceased. None of those people or any of the victims are being identified at this time for obvious reasons. As already has been reported, we have a number of scenes being worked on as we speak. Not only the salon, but the suspect's residence in Brown Deer and others. Our entire operation now is focused on locating the suspect. I will tell you that we are currently still searching a portion of the salon.
And obviously that this investigation and this scene is still fluid and ongoing because they have not cleared the entire salon at this point. Part of the reason for that is they found an IED, an improvised explosive device, there at the time. So they are still trying to deal with that and trying to clear the scene there. They said there are a number of scenes, including the one here in Brookfield. There's one at the home in Brown Deer, and there are other scenes, but they didn't elaborate as to where those were. They do still feel that this person is large. They cannot find him. They're asking for people, if they know of him or anything about him, to call Brookfield Police or to call 911. And the bottom line is they just say this is still a fluid investigation and that they will update us at 6:30 tonight unless something earth-shattering happens before then. But for now, the latest information is the man is still out on the loose.
Right now we have a very important phone call we want to get you to.
Radcliffe Houghton Sr. is the father of the suspected gunman. Mr. Houghton, first of all, thank you for joining us. This has got to be a difficult day for you as well. Have you talked to your son?
No, sir.
When was the last time you spoke with your son?
Sometime in midweek.
There have been some violence. There has been some violence in your son's past, enough to have a restraining order issue, enough to have an order that he turn his guns over. What has been the state of mind of your son, who has a restraining order against him, I assume from your daughter-in-law? What has his frame of mind been these last few days? Can you share that with us? I know you spoke to him midweek.
No, I can't share that with you because I have not spoken with him. And all I heard, it was a restraining order. That was that. He did not elaborate. Like I told other stations that I invited him to come and spend time to me so we could have a good talk and figure out what was happening. And I offered him that there's a place where he could stay for a while and let's figure out things. But I'm surprised that he did not take me up on that offer, and hearing what's happening now, I'm so shocked. I'm devastated. The family is devastated. We did not expect this from my son.
On the off chance that your son is watching right now, would you speak to him?
Yes.
What would you say to him?
Johnny, this is your dad. Call me. And if you lose faith, I'm trying to tell you, man, God is able. And if you ask him to forgive you, turn yourself in. Don't make this thing get any worse than what it is. I love you, son. I want to hear from you.
And then a couple minutes later, the officer comes by. He tells everybody to move out. So once I come to my car, and I see a girl come out of the salon with a bleeding neck and a paper towel over her neck, and she was yelling for help, and she was really injured. She was probably in her 20s, and the officer had to carry her to the ambulance. Then I moved to a different parking lot just to see what was going on because I was confused. And so I saw two more people getting pulled out. They weren't moving. I didn't see them bleeding anywhere, but they got put on the stretchers right away.
We now know 7 people were shot. 3 of them were killed.
And we now know, we are getting some confirmation that the shooter, the man responsible for this 45-year-old Radcliffe Houghton, was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This coming from sources.
We've pulled up some court documents, and we do know he was in court, the suspect, Radcliffe Houghton, last Thursday. He was in there on a temporary restraining order case, and we did learn that the judge did grant that temporary restraining order, and there were some conditions that he had to turn all of his weapons over to the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. We do not know if that happened.
Now the story moves to Brown Deer because that's where Houghton called home. Our Mike Lowe is on the phone.
The scene right now is still roped off. They've got police tape blocking off the area in what one officer told me was a 2-block radius from the home. They had the bomb squad unit out there with the robot to see if there were any explosive devices. And what you see in this neighborhood is a number of people basically out on their front lawns. There's a lot of commotion out here for much.
What have you learned? You've spent the day talking to neighbors, to police officials, to the chief of Brown Deer. What do you got?
Well, good evening to you, Ted. The answer to your first question is yes, we've been kept at an arm's length from the suspect's home. We're about 2 or 3 blocks away right now. You can see still off in the distance there is some police activity, but it has ratcheted down in the last half hour or so here. We know that police initially came to this neighborhood because they had reason to believe that the suspect, Radcliffe Houghton, perhaps had set up booby traps, bombs inside of his home. They were doing a security sweep and called for assistance to the Milwaukee County Bomb Squad, which came and conducted a sweep and to this point has found nothing. Now we're told that the sweep is winding down and police will be on the scene here until Brookfield can get here. They'll take over the scene and do their own investigation as they continue their investigation of the crime that actually happened in Brookfield, the shooting. But we do know this neighborhood, many of the homes here were evacuated, and when we first arrived here this afternoon, there were children playing outside in their yards, tossing the football around. People were raking leaves, all the things you'd expect on a brilliant Sunday afternoon like this, where we've got a spot of nice weather here in late October. That all ceased once the squad cars came, the tactical unit came as well, and people were told to stay in their homes. Some asked to evacuate the neighborhood altogether, those that were very close. Police taking every measure of precaution to try and prevent another tragedy here. So right now, things are winding down, but the police are still on scene, and again, we're being kept at about 2 or 3 blocks distance from where we believe the home to be.
You talk about the movie theater, you talk about the temple, and now in a spa? My word. I mean, all these places you would never expect in 1,000 years to be the source of such violence.
And it seems so unbelievable. We just went through this in August, and it is the same type of situation, a peaceful, beautiful Sunday morning disrupted by gunfire. We were hoping that there would be no fatalities. Now we know there are 4, including the gunman.